Hello everybody and welcome along to another episode of the Red Zone podcast with me, Fletch. When I started this podcast, I did say that I would I think I did, so I don't actually remember. But I was aiming to get this podcast out once, maybe twice a week. And I think ahead of Liverpool, or arguably Liverpool's biggest week of the season to date, I think I should get 2 podcasts out this week. I will try and get the second one out. But I thought with us facing Chelsea on Saturday, we've got a big game against Napoli coming up midweek, and we've got a big game, obviously, this weekend when we take on Manchester City. I think this is going to be a massive week for us, and which is why I wanted to get right down into details of all 3 games. I want to review the Chelsea game today. I'm going to obviously preview the Napoli game because there's some interesting stories and different ways to look at both games here. And I want to I'll briefly touch on the Manchester City thing, but I think I'll mainly leave that to Friday's podcast, in which I will definitely go into more detail on that. So without further ado, let's begin with the 1-1 draw Liverpool had with Chelsea. Eden Hazard opened the scoring in the first half, and from there it wasn't like both teams had their opportunities. Chelsea had a couple of opportunities to extend their lead. Liverpool definitely had opportunities to equalise, but it wasn't until the 89th minute in which Daniel Sturridge, who had only just came on as a substitute, scored an absolute worldie of a goal. Now, I looked at it in a couple of ways. I initially looked at it as a great away point for Liverpool. I think if you'd have offered me a point before this game kicked off, I would have bit your hand off, because Stamford Bridge is a tough place to go. Both sets of fans despise each other in a sort of sporting way. I know a couple of Chelsea fans. They're actually pretty decent people. But yeah, in a sporting way, both sets of fans despise each other, and it's seen as a rivalry without actually being a rivalry, if you know what I mean. But initially I looked at it as a great point. Like, it obviously means that City have now a level on points with us. We're technically second by goal difference. So it is a little bit disappointing in that respect. And then the more I look back on that game, I mean, I thought initially a draw was a fair result, but the more I looked back on that game and I saw the half chances we created and the chances we missed, I legit was thinking, the more and more I looked at it, I was thinking, we should have won that game. I mean, I don't get me wrong, I'm grateful for a point, I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful that we're still technically top of the table, so to speak, but like, the more I looked at the game and the chances we created, I honestly did on some level think that we probably deserve more. I saw on some of the YouTube channels that Chelsea fans have created, like, they felt they deserved to win, and they have a little bit of an argument, I guess. And this isn't me being biased here, but apart from 1 or 2 long balls they played to the likes of Willian, and a counter attack from Hazard, where Alisson did keep us in the game, but apart from 1 or 2 attempts, they didn't really trouble our back 4 much. Our midfield was poor, I'll give them that, but yeah, I didn't think they really troubled as much, apart from 1 or 2 errors, particularly in the second half. The second half, it was mainly us. They only attacked, counter-attacking wise, once, maybe twice, and then once we got the goal, the equaliser, we sort of said, okay, we're happy with this point. We'll sit back for the remaining couple of minutes. Chelsea came on to us then, but they couldn't get the winning goal, fortunately. So, yeah, like I said, apart from a couple of times where Alisson really kept us in it, I don't know, maybe a fair result was a draw on the day. Either way, it was a very entertaining 90 minutes of football. Player ratings, I thought Alisson, like I said, I've already touched upon Alisson. I thought he made 2 or 3 really good saves to really keep us in the game. If I'm nitpicking a little bit, I really think he probably could have done better with the goal. It did seem like it was kind of obvious where the ball was going. Maybe the slight bounce just before it got to him may have slightly put him off a little bit. I don't know, but I think that's just me being nitpicking, to be honest. I give him a 9 out of 10. Trent Alexander-Arnold, he didn't have his best game, but he didn't have his worst game either. It was a tricky time at the beginning marking Hazard, but he still got used to it at the end. And to be fair to Hazard as well, like, he may not have been as influential on the ball, but he had to work very, very hard, because unlike in the PSG game with Neymar, he was willing to track back. Hazard in the PSG game, Trent Alexander-Arnold had the entire free range of the right wing. In this game, Hazard cut off that kind of freedom. Hazard did not allow Trent to have the freedom of the right wing, so to speak, and therefore he wasn't as influential in the game as much. And it was the same on the other side as well, to be fair. I thought Robertson got caught out a couple of times with the ball over the top to Willian. I think it was 1 in each half. But he did keep Willian quiet other than that. I've got to give him credit for that. And he did create a good opportunity for Shaqiri, who missed a pretty decent opportunity. It was definitely a good chance to equalise for Liverpool. And again, on the other side, I thought Willian worked very hard to deny Robertson the attacking freedom of the left wing. I'm going to give Trent a 6, and I'm going to give Robertson a 7. Again, not their best games, not their worst. The Van Dijk and Gomez partnership goes strong into another game. I thought Van Dijk, to say he was a doubt before the game, I thought he had a very strong performance. Same with Gomez, really. He showed great pace, especially in one part during the, I think it was second half. It was second half, actually, because it was from a dreadful Liverpool corner that a Chelsea counter-attack happened, and he showed great pace to keep track. I think it was with Hazard at that point, to keep track of Hazard. Didn't kind of be clumsy about it and push him over. Showed great pace, got back, and saw the ball out for, I believe, a corner. Great defending there. I'm going to give both centre-backs an 8. Gini Wijnaldum in the middle, in the midfield. I honestly believe Wijnaldum plays better with Keita. I think when Keita came on with 10 minutes to go, I felt Wijnaldum played a little bit better. It wasn't incredible in this game. It wasn't his best game, wasn't his worst. It was mediocre from him. Probably showed a bit too much of the ball to Chelsea at times. Chelsea have a hard-working midfield. When you got to deal with Kante and Kovacic in particular, and then you got Jorginho as well, they've got a hard-working midfield, and we had to work very hard in the middle of the park. And you know, maybe their work rate was a little bit better than ours. I felt Wijnaldum probably took one too many touches at times, but like I say, it wasn't his worst game. Giving Wijnaldum a 7. Milner, machine as per usual, powers on for another game. Again, I will go back to the point I made a few seconds ago. The work rate of the Chelsea midfield in particular was strong, and it had to be matched by ours. And you know what? It wasn't incredible. Like, their midfield is on the borderline of world class. Kante is just incredible. Jorginho's getting there. Kovacic is still young. Our midfield on paper doesn't look the best, but is one of the most hard-working midfield trio in the Premier League. I thought Milner played very well. Not great. Very well indeed. I'm going to give him a 7 as well. And I'm going to give a 7 to Henderson as well. I thought he played okay. I didn't think he played amazing. But again, the anti-Henderson thing is still about. Because, let's face it, against PSG, many people were saying Henderson actually played pretty well in that game. And the anti-Henderson thing wasn't as much of a big deal because Henderson was playing well. magically, when Henderson doesn't put in his best performance, I thought he did okay in this game. Again, the anti-Henderson thing came out on Twitter, came out on social media, and I just didn't like it again. I will say this though, like I've said it on numerous times, I don't think we should be playing Henderson and Milner together. I honestly don't. And when Henderson was subbed off for Keita in the second half, Keita offered us a bit more of an attacking approach and also just a fresh pair of legs in the midfield. It was definitely a big change, and it was one of the reasons I think why we got the goal, because him being in the midfield allowed us to create more chances going forward, and it allowed us to keep up the pressure kind of thing. So maybe a little bit on Jurgen's part that he started Henderson over Keita, but like I said, I wasn't too shocked by the decision, and to be honest, I'm not going to dwell on that at all. Like, it is what it is, and the change happened, and I would have gone along with it as well. If I was in Klopp's shoes, I would have gone with Henderson as well. And again, like I said, not to say he had a bad game, not to say he had a good game. He was okay. He was okay. Not to the level of hate that he was getting on the social media and stuff, but it was okay. Our front three, Mohamed Salah, frustrating game for him. He had 3 real good chances. One was an easy save from the Chelsea goalkeeper Kepa. The second one went well wide, and the third one got cleared off the line. It was a very frustrating night for him. He got subbed off in the second half, but before that he did actually show some very good build-up play. He showed some nice touches in his build-up play that I thought were reassuring. If he had his shooting boots on, maybe he could have grabbed himself a goal, maybe, but like I say, he showed some real good build-up play. And I think it's only a matter of time before he starts rediscovering the golden form he was showing last season. I will say to the people that are saying that he's not having as good a season as last season, this time last year, Salah had 4 goals. He scored in games against Watford, Arsenal, Burnley, and I think he scored in the game at Leicester as well. Those games, Watford, Arsenal, Burnley, Leicester, those 4 games he scored in all 4. 7 games have gone into the season, he scored 4 goals. 7 games have gone in this season. He didn't play in the he only played about a couple of minutes in the Carabao Cup defeat to Chelsea. 7 games have gone in this league so far this season, and he scored 3 goals. Before this weekend, Harry Kane had scored 3 goals. Sergio Aguero had scored 4 goals. Yes, granted, both of them scored this weekend, Salah didn't. But Salah is not having a bad season. If he's having a bad season, wait until Christmas time, and if he's not up to where he was last year, and if all his rivals to Golden Boot or other players that are very good are having around him or miles away from him, then you can slate him. Right now, no need to slate him, because let's face it, I think with Hazard is currently being labelled the best player in the Premier League, and to be fair, right now on form wise, it's hard to argue. But I will say that in previous years, when he's had previous managers, for the first season, he's played very well, and he's bought into what the manager's been putting about to him. The next season, he's gone a bit missing. Consistency-wise, I don't think that Hazard is that decent in consistency-wise. We'll wait and see if that's going to change this year and next year, but for me, not consistent. And I think Sergio Aguero does get a lot overlooked about being the best player in the Premier League. I mean, I know the best player in the Premier League or best player in the world debate is based on many different factors. because everyone has their like strengths and weaknesses and stuff, and it's like, you know, who's the best in the world? Messi, Ronaldo. You go to 100 people, 50 people will say Messi, 50 people will say Ronaldo, but it's what you base being the best on. And for me, consistency is an important factor. And for me, Aguero has been more consistent in recent years than Hazard has. Simple as that. But I think that's an entirely different debate for another day. I've drifted off topic from Salah here. Anyway, I gave Salah a 6.5 out of 10 rating as he got subbed off in the second half as well. And that's a big sub, by the way. That is a massive sub. Like, last season, there's no chance in hell Salah was going to be subbed off in this kind of game where we're chasing a goal. No way in hell is that happening. And if it does, massive eyebrows are going to be raised and it's going to be a massive shock. But now that we've reinforced with Keita and with Shaqiri, he can make that change, and they have the players to do it. And obviously with Sturridge's return, which obviously helped in this game as well, that's another player as well that adds to our depth and our quality in showing that he's back to how good he was before. We move on to Mane. I felt like in this game he needed to wake up a lot. He was doing several daft mistakes. He wasn't at his best. Some of the things he did were un-Mane-like. There was one incident in particular where he's literally looking across the line to find he's offside, and yet he doesn't move back. He doesn't try and get back onside. He waits till the ball's passed to him. Just needed to wake up a little bit, I felt. A 6 from Mane as well. Finally, in the starting 11, Bobby Firmino. Again, like Salah, his build-up play was pretty decent. As far as goal attempts go, the only one of real note was the header he had, which was cleared off the line by David Luiz. Again, David Luiz known for not really being a proper defender because he just roams around the place and is sort of reliable for many mistakes. It's nice to know that he could learn to defend just for this Liverpool game. I kid, of course, but yeah, you know, it is what it is. Again, Firmino, not his best game, not his worst game. Unlucky not to get the goal. David Luiz did very well to clear his header off the line. I give him a 7. Like I say, build-up play pretty good. Works hard as per usual. Goes under the radar maybe a little bit, but it is what it is. As far as subs, our subs, I believe, were the major part of us getting a point from this game. I thought Shaqiri did pretty well when coming on. The only problem with him was he had that one golden opportunity that the more and more I look at it, I just think if he gets proper decent contact on the ball, just puts his laces through it, keeps it low, puts his laces through it, either side of the goalkeeper, 1-0. 1-1 at the time. He should have at least hit the target. That's all I'm saying from that opportunity to equalise where Robertson played him through. Keita, as I've touched on, he provided energy in the midfield. He was more of an attacking option in the centre of the park than Henderson is, and I'm looking forward to seeing him more and more over the next few weeks. And finally, Sturridge. Don't really need to say much on Sturridge. He didn't really have much time to make an impact. He came on with like 5 or 6 minutes left of normal time, that is. But within a minute, scores an absolute worldie. There's not really much I can say on that because the worldie of a goal speaks for itself. Absolutely incredible. And I will say this as well. I think I touched upon it last week. Sturridge scoring... That's Sturridge's 4th goal now, I believe, in this season in all competitions. He scored 2 in the Premier League, 1 in the Carabao Cup, which obviously he'll go no further for obvious reasons, and 1 in the Champions League. 4 goals from our backup striker. That is incredible. 4 goals from our backup striker is immense in all competitions. Like, it's great that we have a player like that now that seems to, touch wood, have got all his injury problems out of his system. He's back on form. He's looking the best we've seen him in years. And he's back amongst the goals. Okay, he's not starting. But I think with Klopp's system, the work rate of Firmino works better than the work rate of Sturridge. Because Sturridge's work rate at times is a little bit questionable. But it's great that we have now a plan B. And possibly, on his day, the best plan B in the Premier League. Simple as that, really. If the game's not going well like it wasn't here, stick Sturridge up front, drop Firmino a little bit deeper, look what happens. Sturridge gets you the goal you need. And like I said, 4 goals already this season from our backup striker is pretty great. Pretty great in general. But now we move on, and we move on in particular to Napoli. Napoli on Wednesday in the Champions League. So what do we know about Napoli or this game? Well, it's going to be away from home, and Napoli is notoriously a tough game away from home. Their fans are truly passionate. Sometimes they can go over the top, so if you're travelling out there, be a little bit careful, because they have been known to cause some violent scenes over there, but hopefully this year will be different. Napoli is a notoriously tough game away from home. There's no doubt about it. They've got some very good players. They've obviously got a very good manager in Carlo Ancelotti, who many people will know from his time managing the likes of Real Madrid and Chelsea. They are currently sat second in Serie A. They've played 7, they've won 5, and they've lost 2 games only, and they've lost then to Sampdoria and Juventus. Top of the table Juventus, who will soon be facing Manchester United, of course. Players to look out for, you've got Dries Mertens, Insigne. Insigne, of course, massive pace. Major pace. Lightning pace. So if we get hit on the counter-attack and he's there, we haven't got a hope in hell of chasing him. Well, maybe Gomez and Van Dijk. Who knows? But it's going to be difficult. Hamsik in the middle of the park, probably the cornerstone, or probably just a key name, key figure in the history of Napoli, and has seemingly been there forever. And of course, the highly rated Koulibaly in centre-back, a guy who's been linked with many names in many clubs in world football, including Liverpool. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays, and whether this is just an early scouting mission, shall we say, because that's what happened in the Roma game apparently last season, when we went and bought Alisson, even though we did stick about 5 goals past him. How the group is set up. Now, this is going to be interesting because we have Man City on Saturday. So we may have one eye on that. But the way the group's set up right now is Napoli drew their first game with Red Star Belgrade. So we are currently sat on top of the table with 3 points. Napoli and Belgrade have 1 point, and PSG have 0. Now, here's where things get interesting, because let's assume that PSG beat Red Star Belgrade, as they're expected to do. Let's assume that happens. A draw would be a great result here. And I'll tell you why. Like I said, Napoli is a tough place to go. Napoli is a tough game in general. We've already beaten arguably the toughest team in the group. And we know for a fact that we can go over to France and beat them. But we won't have, or not to my recognition, or not to my knowledge anyway, when we face them away from home, we won't have a big game the next game. Unless I got my weeks mixed up. It's not going to be a massive game like the City game. The City game on Sunday is the biggest game of the season. Home or away, going to be big, because they're going to be our main rivals. I would say Chelsea are a rival. Of course, we've already faced Chelsea once. We're going to face them until next year at some point. But I don't see them holding up the title challenge for longer than we are. I just don't see it. And there are a number of factors, but that's for a different video. With the City game coming on Sunday, it's a massive game that we need to win. If we go to Napoli, play for a draw, go for a win if the opportunity presents itself. A draw would be a very good result here. We'll still be top of the group. We'll have faced our two biggest games in this group and come out with 4 points from 6. Now, if you said 4 points from 6 opening 2 games against PSG and Napoli before the Champions League restarted, I'd have bit your hand off. Simply for the reason that Red Star Belgrade should be no problem for us. For us, we should go to them back-to-back games against Red Star Belgrade and we should win both. And we should be pretty much qualified either after or before the 5th game against PSG. Simple as that. The 5th game against PSG, we should either be qualified, depending on how other results go, or we shouldn't be. Because if we draw against Napoli, PSG and Napoli are going to have to play each other in back-to-back games next. We have 4 points. The likelihood is PSG will have 3, Napoli and Red Star will both have 1. We should beat Belgrade. That's 6 points. We'll have 10 points by game 4. After game 4. Depending on how Napoli and PSG do. PSG are going to be tough at home. Napoli are going to be tough at home. Possibility of draws. It'll be a great result if we get a draw at Napoli. Especially with a City game. And it kind of leads into my team selection. Because the team selection... Saturday's team selection pretty much picked itself. But this one is interesting. Simply for the reason that we don't have Carabao Cup action no more. Simply for the reason that we might be resting a few of our key players for a massive game before the international break. It could be a little bit of an experimental team. That's why I'm going for Alisson in goal. I think Alisson definitely will be in goal now till the FA Cup. I don't see Mignolet challenging. I don't unless the only reason where I can see Mignolet getting back into the team, barring injury, of course, touch wood, is if Game 6 of the Champions League is a deadwood for us. If we're already qualified, it's very unlikely that we're going to lose top spot or something like that along them lines, and Mignolet can play. Alisson in goal. Trent or Klein right back. I reckon he could put Klein in, but I wouldn't be entirely surprised if he sticks with Trent, even though maybe saving him for Saturday, I don't know. But I will go. I'm going to say Klein for this game. Virgil van Dijk and Joel Matip in the centre. We've seen Matip coming in recent weeks. He's done the job as a backup player should. He's done pretty well. Save Gomez. I did have the feeling that he might change Van Dijk, but I think he'll go with sitting out Gomez for this game. Robertson left back. Robertson I do believe will, because I think with Callejon and with Insigne that can play as wingers, I think he'll go with Robertson rather than Moreno. I don't want to see Moreno in the team anymore. In midfield, I'm going to go with Fabinho start. Now, it seems a bit weird, but this is Champions League. It's different to the Premier League. I think Fabinho, I honestly do believe he'll start, because otherwise, apart from being a substitute late on in games, he's not really going to get a game. So I honestly do believe that Fabinho will start. It will give Wijnaldum a bit of a rest ahead of Sunday. And it will be a good opportunity for him to obviously be on a Champions League stage with Liverpool. Alongside him, Milner. Milner will play. Milner will not see the full 90 minutes. I believe Henderson will come on for him. The usual straight swap as it normally is. and I think Keita will start. I think the reason I think Keita will start simply for the reason that he didn't obviously play the full 90 minutes on Saturday, and he'll obviously be pushing for a start on Sunday because, well, biggest game of the season, who wouldn't? That is my midfield three. It's a bit of a... And again, the Keita one could be interesting now that I just thought about it, because if he wants to stick with Salah, there's no reason why Shaqiri can't go into that midfield. I mean, he did it against Southampton. There's no reason why he can't do that. But I do think he'll go with Keita. The front three, Shaqiri, Sturridge, and Mane. Now, I say Shaqiri because, to me, I like the idea of Klopp sticking by his players. Don't get me wrong. I like that idea. I just think maybe Salah needs a little bit of a break. A little bit of a break. Take him out the firing line. Not like a mental break like Harry Kane. He's not that pathetic. A little bit of a break out of the firing line. Take a bit of the pressure off. Put Shaqiri in there. Let him do what he does. His magic. Let him just do his magic. And let him push for a start. Because I love Salah, don't get me wrong. I love him. But he just seems to be putting a bit too much pressure on himself recently. And that's probably one of the reasons why he hasn't been scoring goals. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with his build-up play. I've said that. There's nothing wrong with Salah's build-up play. I just think he's putting a bit too much pressure on him to score goals. It was nice to see him with a smile on his face against Southampton. And then suddenly that smile got wiped off his face this past week. And I don't know why. Just putting a bit too much pressure on himself. Mane needs goals. Mane's, again, a little bit... Mane's goals have dried up since his blistering start to the season. Needs a bit more confidence back. A goal here would definitely set him on the right track ahead of Sunday. And I think Sturridge will start simply for the reason that I think... Like I say, Firmino is definitely Klopp's number one starter. But I think with the way that Sturridge has been playing since coming off the bench recently... He wouldn't like the term impact sub. That's what he's turned into. Sort of. But so far, Sturridge has been pretty good in scoring goals when he's starting. Sturridge has been pretty good in scoring goals when he came on from the bench when needed. I think we should give Sturridge an opportunity in this game to start. We rest Firmino up for Sunday. We unleash Firmino on the centre-back pairing of Laporte and Otamendi. Or was it Stones? I think it's Laporte and Otamendi, isn't it? I haven't actually... I can't remember who it was now. But yeah, we unleash Firmino on Sunday against them two. We rest him for this game, and we have Sturridge up front. Again, like I said, this is a team that is that unlike previous weeks has been very difficult for me to predict. If I was sat here now and I was saying Liverpool are through to the next round of Carabao Cup, I would not have said Fabinho starts. I'd have said Firmino probably comes off the bench, but I wouldn't say he starts. And I probably would be saying Trent starts, definitely. But I want to go with Klein for this game. Klein, Van Dijk, Matip, Robertson across the back four. Simple as that, really. Of course, I could be heavily wrong, but I don't think I am. I won't be too far wrong. As I say, I think Klopp definitely has one eye on Sunday, and that's going to be... And whether he has or not will be telltale in his team selection. Which is good, because the depth we have now is pretty good, and... You know, apart from our back five, I think... Apart from our secondary back five, I just think, like... Our team is looking pretty good. And it's only, like, certain members of that back five anyway. It's... You know, Lovren, has a mistake in him. Moreno, has plenty of mistakes in him. It's just one of them things. Anyway, I'm rambling. That's my team selection. Prediction wise, I'm gonna go 2-1 Liverpool. Um, I'm gonna say that we're gonna save our best performance for Sunday. I'm gonna say that we finally get that final pass, uh, that final third thing that we've got right now, which isn't quite connecting and clicking. We're gonna get that sorted for Sunday. This will be a good opportunity to sort of, like I say, play for a point, but if the opportunity presents itself, go for the victory. I'm a guy that always likes to win no matter what. Friendlies, don't care. I want to win it. Don't care if it's a friendly. I want to win that game. I want to win everything. Every game, every trophy available, everything. But I don't know. Just recently, I just think Klopp's going to be a bit more convenient, and he's going to pick and choose his battles and try and play strategically. And I think, like I said, we saw that on Saturday with the Chelsea game. I don't think he set up to take a point, but when we got the goal, rather than continue to press on, drop a little deeper, take the point. And I think that's what we'll do, or we'll try to do on Wednesday. We'll try and play for the point, try and go for the point as the main priority. But if the opportunity presents itself, a win is all well and good. But don't try and get injured before the Sunday game. Don't try and get any major players injured before the Sunday game, or else. Alright guys, this has been it for this episode of the Red Zone podcast. We are going to be back on Friday previewing the City game, as well as reviewing how Liverpool did against Napoli. Drop anything in the comment section below, whether it's your review on the Chelsea game. What did you think of it? Do you agree that it's a well-earned point? Do you agree that we could have got more? Do you disagree with anything I've said? What do you think about the Napoli game? What are your team selections? What are your predictions for the game? Do you agree that Klopp may have one eye on Sunday's game? Do you agree that a draw will be good enough in this game? Anything along them lines will be very interesting to read and hear from you. Other than that, guys, hit the like button on the way out if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're new and want to see more content like this on my channel. Other than that, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another episode of the Red Zone podcast. And I'll speak with you all again soon.